Hello everyone, I'm Da Hongfei. I'm the founder of NEO. Thank you for joining this online and joint-force event of Unitize. I'm very happy to be invited to share some of my thoughts with the NEO community, the blockchain industry, and maybe even broader audience, including people that are interested in those cutting-edge new technologies and how these technologies will change our future. So today I'm going to cover three topics. First, I'm going to discuss a little bit about the current situations that we're facing, the problems in the world. Secondly, I'm going to discuss why the next generation internet will be the solution to the problems we're facing, and how blockchain is the fabric of next generation internet. And last but not least, I'm going to look into four different sectors in the blockchain industry that are full of business opportunities. So let's get started. I'm sitting in NEO's office in Shanghai now. The life here are mostly getting back to normal. Business are running and people are going to restaurants. But I know there are still many countries and areas are experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic. Besides the pandemic, there are many other problems that the world is facing. If I have to pick the most serious one, the biggest one that will have the biggest impact on the human development for the next decade, I would say it's deglobalization. We're seeing many signs that are the evidence of the deglobalization trend. Especially from the Chinese perspective, the trade war between US and China for the last few years, the recent conflict between India and China over the distributed border, and how India responded by delisting dozens of Chinese linked app on their app stores, are the evidence that we're probably seeing a pause of the globalization process. The idea of an interconnected global shared community is not that popular recently. But this is not the first time that we've seen this kind of stagnation. If we look back into history, we will see that we have experienced similar situations before. From this graph, you will see that we have already gone through different cycles of growth and stagnation. So with the invention of new technologies like steam engine, like electrification, like automobile transportation and computer internet, these new technologies will bring a very fast growth to the human. But then inevitably, some serious conflicts popped up, like the First and Second World War, the collapse, the Cold War between US and Soviet Union, and more recently, the global financial crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. So the very natural question will be where we are, which direction are we going to? Are we seeing for the next decade, are we gonna stay at where we are? Or are we in the dawn of a new cycle, a new growing cycle? My answer is the latter one. I believe with the invention of new technologies, those new game-changing technologies like blockchain, like AI, like human-computer interface, we are in the dawn of a new cycle of very fast growth. And I would like to call this cycle the digital economy cycle. And this digital economy will be running on top of the so-called next generation internet. It's not just a optimized version of current internet. It will be a completely different new internet, which is not just a technological technology, which is also a institutional technology. So people may ask, why don't we just build on top of today's internet? What's the problem with today's internet? I think there are two major problems with current internet, a horizontal one and a vertical one. So let's look at the horizontal one first. I call it horizontal isolation. So as you can see from the slide, there are four major internet companies: Facebook, Tencent, Alibaba, and Twitter. They have their own apps: WhatsApp, WeChat, Alipay, Weibo, Twitter. If you are a user of these apps, you will notice some strange things. For example, if you are a WhatsApp user, you cannot send message to WeChat user. If you are a WeChat Pay user, you cannot transfer money to Alipay users. And you cannot share information between Weibo and Twitter. So these are data silos that are maintained, that are intentionally maintained by these internet giants. And then they use those data silos to form monopolies, to impede competition. Sometimes they even abuse the privacy of their users for commercial and even for political agendas. And the second issue of today's internet is what I call vertical friction. So current internet is designed as an information exchange network. It's good at delivering information globally, but it is really bad at transmitting value. It's bad at creating trust, let alone reflecting physical real-world activities on the internet. For the digital economy, we need to have a network that can combine, reflect all the flows, including the data flow, the money flow, and the physical flow together. Today's internet also, because it is not designed as a value network, it also lack of internationally accepted protocols and standards to connect the biological and physical layer to the digital layer, to extract and elevate information from the biological and physical to the digital realm. So we will need a new kind of internet that will be user-centric, that will be open, and that will be designed with a goal that it will be the foundation for the digital economy in mind. And the new kind of internet should have the following attributes. It should be modular, so everyone can build a part of it, and then different parts can be integrated together to become a bigger application. And also it should be opt-in, so user should freely choose different applications to use and obey different rules when they are doing business. It should also be interoperable, so different systems, applications on top of the new kind of internet can talk to each other, can interact with each other. It should also be permissionless, so innovation can happen freely on the network without any approval. And it also should be adaptable, so the network can evolve over time. Let's look at the building blocks of the next generation internet, how it will look like. So first, we shouldn't build it from scratch. We should utilize the current infrastructure of current internet. So the next generation internet will be built on top of today's internet. There will be two layers: layer 1, the state layer, and layer 2, transaction layer. And user applications will be built on top of layer 2. At state layer, there will be different protocols focusing on different aspects. For example, digital assets will probably become the biggest sector of layer 1 state, the global state. For example, NEO is a digital asset protocol. Ethereum is also focusing a lot on digital asset, and Tezos, they're doing security token offerings. And then we need protocols for digital identity and data sharing. Ontology is a protocol designed to bring real-world identity onto the blockchain, and also to have different protocols for people, for entities to share and exchange their data asset. And similar projects are Sovereign, Ocean Protocol. Storage is also a key element of the next generation internet. The storage protocol for next generation internet should be decentralized or distributed, and also it should be content addressed by content, not by URI. The most famous project is IPFS, and my company OnChain had been incubating a new project called DSP for about a year, and now they have finished the protocol, and they're looking for a community team to build an actual blockchain like Filecoin on top of the protocol itself. So with all these different protocols, blockchains, like digital asset, digital identity, distributed storage, we need to have a so-called cross-chain or interoperability protocol to link them together to form a bigger network. With the interoperability protocol, we can have smart contracts living on different protocols interacting with each other. We will have atomic transactions over different blockchains. So it will be a larger global state layer. And on top of the global state layer is the layer 2, the transaction layer. Most transactions on public blockchains will happen at state channel in the future with ZK rollup technologies, Lightning Network, and similar layer 2 solutions. And also permissioned blockchains or consulting blockchains are also on the transaction layer. They probably were anchored to a public blockchain to solidate their state. And also centralized local ledgers like different payment systems are part of the transaction layer. And then on top of transaction layer is the interface that applications are at this on top of layer 2. So this is a maybe overly simplified version of the tech stack of the next generation internet. As you can tell, the technology are still immature. The infrastructures are not fully developed. So that means there are still many business opportunities waiting for us. This is also the topic of my last slide. I categorize these business opportunities into 3 groups. The first one is infrastructure, the second, enterprise adoption, and the third, digital finance. For infrastructure, I believe for the next maybe 2 years, most of the development will be focusing on several points. First, scalability, how to improve transaction per second, how to improve its storage. The second will be privacy, how to preserve privacy on public blockchains. Is always a hot topic. So the second category is what I call enterprise adoption. There are many use cases, but I think there's only one business logic behind it. The data as an asset, or data as one of the means of production. If business and government can use blockchain technology to preserve their data of business or governance activities, then they can prove to their consumers about the traceability of their product. They can get loans from banks. They can exchange data from each other. So almost all business adoption applications can be abstracted as the application on top of data asset. So if you are trying to work on this direction, I think you can think about this in this way, in a data asset way. And the third category is digital finance, and this category is probably the most interesting and also most profitable category. I think the logic behind digital finance is also very simple. If you are a traditional financial institution, you want to set up a payment network, exchange or other financial services, you need to hire maybe a few hundreds people with lawyers, with accountants, with other professionals, and then you need to pay a lot of money on security, on compliance. But if you are a blockchain entrepreneur, a digital finance entrepreneur, you probably only need 1 or 2 developers, and then you can create a crypto financial service in days. You only need to, the cost is maybe 1% of traditional financial services cost, and the efficiency may be 10 times higher than the traditional ones. So the logic is not that things come out of thin air. It is because blockchain is a decentralized system. For example, the security cost of the network is subsidized by all the token holders. It's not paid by you, by the blockchain startup. And also the security of individual accounts, the burden of AML, KYC, and other compliance costs are distributed to different individuals. So that's the logic behind digital finance or decentralized digital finance. No wonder we saw a boom recently with DeFi on the Ethereum platform. There are two directions that I'm really interested in, and I think it will be very lucrative. They are tokenization and crypto fiat gateway. Tokenization startups are acting as a channel to connect traditional financial system or financial assets and also physical assets with the blockchain asset. So there will be a very important bridge to connect these two different systems, and I think they have a huge potential. And the second direction is a fiat crypto gateway. Although you can build a payment system, a crypto payment system in days, but you still have to, not everyone is using crypto payment. You still have to pay, let's say, your employee in fiat. You still, in most cases, you still have to buy coffee in fiat. So we need a fast, compliant, and convenient way to ramp on and ramp off the crypto highway. So I also believe crypto fiat gateway will be a very lucrative business in the future. So folks, this is my thoughts about where we are, what the future of internet will look like, and also what are the business opportunities in this domain. It's still in the first few days of the second half of 2020. I hope you guys like what I shared, and I wish you guys a fruitful second half of 2020.